Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's afternoon devotional and Bible study for February 18th, 2021. Today, we will be reading through Jesus is Calling for today, but we will be getting into 1 Samuel chapter 23 as well. We have Joxer with me right now. Say hi, Joxer. Say hi. Yeah. He's just like, yeah, whatever, pet me. Touch me. Do whatever you want. And then we got Sassy watching just from behind the camera there. But yeah, without further ado, let's get started on the devotional with Jesus is Calling for today, February 18th, 2021. I am with you. These 4 words are like a safety net, protecting you from falling into deep despair. Because you are human, you will always have ups and downs in your life experience. But the promise of my presence limits how far down you can go. Sometimes you may feel as if you are in a free fall, where people or things you had counted on let you down. Yet, as soon as you remember that I am with you, your perspective changes radically. Instead of bemoaning your circumstances, you can look to me for help. You recall that not only I am with you, I am holding you by your right hand. I guide you with my counsel, and afterward I will take you into glory. This is exactly the perspective you need, the reassurance of my presence and the glorious hope of heaven. And that was inspired by 2 different sections of the Bible, and a reminder, this isn't my presence, we're talking about God. This is written as if Jesus is talking to us. So those 2 Bible verses are first, the Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He will take great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. Zephaniah 3:17. And then, yet I am always with you. You hold me by my right hand. You guide me with your counsel, and afterward you will take me into glory. Whom have I in heaven but you? And earth has nothing I desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Psalm 73:23 to 26. May God. I was going to say, add a blessing to the reading of his word that we're about to read. But usually you say that right afterwards. But there was some Bible verses in there. All right, so we're going to be opening up our Bibles to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 23. I'm drinking water today, not coffee. It's weird, but it's good for me. So, yeah. We just read a pretty sad section, actually, with David and Saul in 1 Samuel 22. So David goes hiding with a bunch of his men in a cave, and the dregs of society come, the ones that owe money or are in trouble and whatnot, and they come and they hide with David, which is kind of foreshadowing how Jesus calls everyone, even those that society looks down on, into hiding. And someone that is a very respectable person, Saul is tracking down. He's like, hey, I heard David came here. Now, why would you help him? What do you mean? The priest was like kind of caught off guard. He's the head of your royal guard. Wouldn't I be in trouble if I didn't help him? He's like, you're plotting with him to kill me, aren't you? And He's like, what? He's trying to kill you. No, you gave him the sword of Goliath. Yeah, he asked for it. He's the head of your royal guard. That's it. I'm killing you and your whole family. And Saul orders his men to kill everybody. And his men are like, no, we can't do that. This is the man of God. Why are you ordering us to kill him? And this is echoing what happened with Jonathan early on, when Saul was like, I made everyone make a vow, and Jonathan broke that vow, even though he didn't even make it. And at the time, no one dared raise their sword, because it was obvious that Jonathan was acting in the will of God, even though it was counter to Saul's will. And then one person stood up. He's like, don't worry, Saul. I'll take care of this. And he killed everybody. And Saul's panic and his paranoia overflowed. And that's where we're going to continue the story. Saul ordered the execution of one of the leading priests under his control. The one who is entrusted to guard and to keep a symbol of God's victory amongst the people. He was entrusted to have the sword of Goliath in their place of worship. And Saul has drifted so far away from God that he ordered them to die. And his followers are like, I know this is wrong, and we can't follow through on this, but like, this is getting kind of screwed up. And then the one guy is like, don't worry, I'm going to make you proud, Saul. I'm going to make you proud. Not, I'm going to make God proud. He's going to make this earthly ruler proud. No. I don't know. It's sad, and it's evil, and it's coming out of it. I remember yesterday when I was breaking it apart, I was so fixated on the beginning part of that chapter that as I'm doing this recap now, I'm just really processing that second half. Yesterday I was going through the day with that idea of like, yeah, Jesus identifies and he calls all of like the low lives of society to follow him. And I was thinking about that even when I went to bed last night. But yeah, the evilness and the sadness of the second part just really, I don't know, it's hitting home right now. So I'm going to take a sip, and then we're going to continue on with the story. Yeah. So 1 Samuel chapter 23. David protects the town of Keilah. One day, news came to David that the Philistines were in Keilah, stealing grain from the threshing floors. David asked the Lord, should I go and attack them? Yes, go and save Keilah. So the Lord told him. But David's men said, we're afraid even here in Judah. We certainly don't want to go to Keilah and fight the whole Philistine army. So David asked the Lord again. And again the Lord replied, go down to Keilah, for I will help you conquer the Philistines. So David and his men went to Keilah. They slaughtered the Philistines and took all their livestock and rescued the people of Keilah. Now, when Abiathar, son of Elmach, fled to David at Keilah, he brought the ephod with him. So I'm going to pause here. So yeah, when Saul ordered all of the priests' family to die, this one guy is the guy who escaped, and he escaped. Now we know with the ephod, which they made in the book of Exodus for the high priest. All right, so now we're going to continue from verse 7. Soon, Saul soon learned that David was at Keilah. "Good," he exclaimed. "We've got him now. God has handed him over to me, so he has trapped himself in a walled town." So Saul mobilized his entire army to march to Keilah and besiege David and his men. But David learned of Saul's plans and told Abiathar, the priest, to bring the ephod and ask the Lord what he should do. Then David prayed, "Lord, O Lord, God of Israel, I have heard that Saul is planning to come and destroy Keilah because I am here. Will the leaders of Keilah betray me to him? And will Saul actually come as I have heard? Oh God, God of Israel, please tell me." Sorry. And the Lord said, "He will come." Again, David asked, "Will the leaders of Keilah betray me and my men to Saul?" And the Lord replied, "Yes, they will betray you." David hides in the wilderness. So David and his men, about 600 of them now, left Keilah and began roaming the countryside. Word soon reached Saul that David had escaped, so he didn't go to Keilah after all. David now stayed in the strongholds of the wilderness and in the hill country of Zeph. Saul hunted him day after day, but God didn't let Saul find him. One day, near Horesh, David received the news that Saul was on his way to Ziph to search for him and kill him. Jonathan went to find David and encourage him to stay strong in his faith in God. "Don't be afraid," Jonathan reassured him. "My father will never find you. You are going to be the king of Israel, and I will be next to you, as my father Saul is well aware." So the two of them renewed their solemn pact. Sorry, I got to change the page. Their solemn pact before the Lord. Then Jonathan returned home, while David stayed at Horesh. But now the men of Zeph went to Saul in Geba and betrayed David to him. "We know where David is hiding," they said. "He is in the strongholds of Horesh, on the hills of Hachilah, which is in the southern parts of Jeshurun. Come down whenever you're ready, O king, and we will catch him and hand him over to you." "The Lord bless you," Saul said. "At last someone is concerned about me. Go and check again and be sure of where he is staying and who has seen him there, for I know that he is very crafty. Discover his hiding place and come back when you are sure. Then I'll go with you. And if he is in the area at all, I'll track him down, even if I have to search every hiding place in Judah." So the men of Zeph returned home ahead of Saul. Meanwhile, David and his men had moved into the wilderness of Moab in the Arabah Valley, south of Jeshurun. When David heard that Saul and his men were searching for him, he went even further into the wilderness, to the great rock, and remained there in the wilderness of Maon. But Saul kept after him in the wilderness. Saul and David were now on opposite sides of a mountain. Just as Saul and his men began to close in on David and his men, an urgent message reached Saul that the Philistines were raiding against Israel again. So Saul quit chasing David and returned to fight the Philistines. Ever since that time, the place where David was camped has been called the Rock of Escape. David then went to live in the strongholds of En-Gedi. God add a blessing to the reading of his word. All right. I think this next section is the part that I thought it was yesterday. So yeah, we see in this one. It's sad. And I think in this one we see some of the warnings from Revelations coming to be. You might be like, what? How is this relating to Revelations? And I had this thought as I was going through it. And Saul is acting selfishly. Saul is obviously going against God in so many ways. Like, he's killing people that he has trusted. His men are like, what are you doing? This isn't in God's will. This is out of your ego. We can't do it. He's doing all of these things, killing all these people, leaving so much hate and hurt. David comes in and he rescues this town that's getting, just robbed by these Philistines. And Saul's coming in and he's getting the people that David just saved to turn against him, because Saul is so, like, even though they're like, yes, David's acting in the will of God and he rescued us, even though, like, his numbers were so much less, he rescued us. Saul's coming with power and might and fear. He's controlling them with fear. And we see Saul still thinking that he's acting in the will of God. Saul thinks that he is doing the will of God, though he's acting selfishly, though he's acting in such a way that is hurting thousands, not only their lives, but he is forcing people to betray ones that they care about, forcing people to betray ones that they love, because of fear of their lives. Because he's going around killing people that deny him. And he thinks that he's working in the will of God. He has been fooled. And in Revelations, it talks about how this beast is going to rise. He's going to be dealt a fatal blow, but he will rise again. And he's going to confuse and trick the most well-meaning Christians. The most well-meaning followers of God are going to be tricked. They're going to think that they are following the will of God. We look at Saul, and he has convinced himself that he is acting, he's doing what is necessary to serve God, yet he has shut up all of those that are speaking for God in his life. And it's a scary thought. That section, that one little bit there, it saddens and it terrifies me. I want to be acting. I'm so thankful now that we have Jesus to look at. Let's look towards Jesus. How did Jesus deal with this in this similar situation? We're living in a world with technologies far beyond, but humans, there's a sameness to humans today as there was back then. So how did Jesus react? And I want to act like that. I want him to be my guide. So if I'm doing something that goes against how Jesus acted, well, then maybe I need to check myself and I need to check my sources. So let's look towards Jesus and filter how we live today through Jesus. Otherwise, we might end up like Saul, on a righteous journey that's actually going against God. There's this other section here that foreshadows towards Jesus. So 1 Samuel 23:14. David now stayed in the strongholds of the wilderness in the hill country of Ziph. Saul hunted him day after day, but God didn't let Saul find him. David is described in the New Testament as a type of Christ. He is always on the run, with no home and no stable place to lay his head. Jesus, the Christ, the Messiah, says, "Foxes have dens to live in, and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place even to lay his head." Matthew 8:20. Like yesterday when I was talking about Jesus relating to the least of these in our society, Jesus stepped down from heaven and he became homeless for you. Jesus became homeless for you. He became homeless for me. Think about leaving a place of absolute perfection to be born in a suboptimal place, to suffer unspeakable pain, to starve for 40 days, to be betrayed by your closest friends, to be mocked and ridiculed by not just Joe Blow, but by an entire town as after you save them, knowing that you're helping them and they're cursing you. God stepped down from heaven to do that for us. David is enduring being chased and persecuted, and he has no place to lay his head. He knows the value of hard work because of his time as a shepherd. David knows the value of good music because he's a musician. David knows the value of not just standing up and looking the toughest because he took down Goliath. He knows that when you step out in faith and with God, then you're going, nothing can stand in your way. And the biggest difference between Saul, I know I'm shifting points here. The biggest difference between Saul and David is echoed brilliantly in this section. David consults God. Should we do this? Yeah, okay, well, my people are a little bit afraid. So I'm going to ask again, God, should we do this? God, you brought me here, but now do I need to leave? Like, I thought this was I had expectations that once I rescued this place, that this was going to be a safe place for us. Do we need to move? Or do I stand my guard and do I take on Saul? Okay, I gotta move. David, I reading this, I think David had the expectation that this was going to be a safe place. Finally, they would get to rest. And God was like, no, these people will betray you because Saul isn't stopping to consult me. He thinks he's acting for me, and it's leading him down a dark path. He thinks he's doing the right thing, but he stopped consulting me long ago. And Saul has people at his side that are willing and wanting to tell him what he needs to hear and are willing to draw innocent blood to do it. Let's protect your fragile ego, Saul. I'll kill this man of God. It's life and death sometimes. It's an eternal life and death sometimes. It's challenging. It's hard. But we see an illustration on how Jesus identifies with the least of these. He's homeless for us. David is homeless for his people. I'm not calling us to be homeless, but I'm thinking about the people in Texas that are without heat in a land that is known for its heat. I'm looking outside at the snow, and yeah, we might have some of our normal rights taken away, but it's for love and to protect others. We're acting in love by staying home. We're acting in love by doing these things that seem so unnatural sometimes. But it's interesting. And I'm not just saying that like staying at home, wearing your mask and all that is acting in love. Like you actively want to treat people how you would like to be treated. And if I thought that I might be vulnerable to spreading a disease, then, or could be putting someone's life at risk, no matter if they're old, young, whatever, and I could do something not to risk that person's life on their behalf, or for them not to risk my life on that behalf, because they don't know my situation. Yeah, I had pneumonia and my lungs are weaker, so I could really, and I'm overweight. So I'm a prime target for who could have a really serious case of this COVID stuff. So if they're not risking my life, because I wouldn't want someone to risk my life for, all of that jazz, how much more should I actively do that in love? Because that's what Jesus said. He said, show love. I'm putting this in my own words. Show the love that you want to receive. Do that onto others. Or I've heard it being done like, be the change you want to see in the world. It's paraphrasing the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. How do you want to be treated? Treat others that way. And that's showing love. Like, you can get into theological debates about this, that, or the other, or the scientific debates, but at the end of the day, if someone is in fear for their life, or they are acknowledging that they're at higher risk, then the loving thing to do is not to add to their anxiety. Not to give them a reason to do that. Then at a distance, maybe you can have conversations if you have different opinions. But for the stranger on the street, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Act in love. I'm going to take a sip and then I'll pray. Because I went on a different tangent than I was expecting to. I'm sorry. Yeah. AJC, awesome. Jesus Christ. May we act in love. In small ways, in ways that might never really get fully appreciated. But I also pray for ways to connect. As we are home, we are living in a technology age where we can connect like this, Lord. I thank you so much that we can connect like this. I lift up all the people serving at jobs like No Frills across the street or like Walmart that have to deal with people, the grocery stores. Like, I still hear stories from employees that are like, yeah, some people are just being jerks. And my heart is so sad when I hear that it's people that are following you, that are making their lives more stressful needlessly because they think that they're revealing the truth by trying to be bold and stand up for you. Yet it's the most selfish, Saul-like thing they could do right now. Help guide us and direct us to act lovingly. Help us to not be like Saul and be blinded by our righteous mission, but let us be like David. Help us to turn to you to help make decisions on how we are to move forward. Help us to look towards you as your example on how to live daily lives, how to live with a heart for others, to be other centered. Thank you so much that we have homes, that we have internet, that we have comforts, that we don't have to escape behind a rock. And Lord, right now I'm so thankful for the fact that we have heat. And I lift up the people in Texas who aren't used to this kind of temperature, who aren't used to having the power outages, that might not know how to handle things. I lift up all the people that are making decisions on how to fix those problems. I saw a picture today, Lord, of a ceiling fan in an apartment building that had like a 3-foot icicle on it in Texas. It still boggles my mind, Lord. Please help out those people. Help out the individuals that have the decisions to make, but also the ones that are. I lift up the homeless people down there too. You had no place to rest your head. You relate to the homeless person. David relates to the homeless person, and especially in those extreme conditions. Lord, I pray for the people of Texas right now that on top of the pandemic are facing this extreme cold with a lack of power and heat and warmth. In the summer, it was the wildfires because temperatures were hotter than they've ever been, and then now things are colder than they've ever been. This extreme yo-yoing, Lord, protect us. Our world seems to be crying right now. And the least of these are paying the price. So help us to have a heart for how we conduct ourselves globally, but also locally. Locally, first with the people that we're actually connected with that idea and that mindset that, yeah, our actions here have a small impact on the world at large. And knowing that, Lord, help us and guide us to make the right decisions. You are awesome, Lord. Thank you. Thank you for guiding us. Thank you for stepping down from heaven. Thank you for loving us. I feel like I've been rambling for a while, Lord, in this prayer time, but I feel like it's a prayer time that I needed. I know that I'm on camera, and it's weird because I'm sharing this, and anyone can come in and Lord, I thank you that I get to do this, that I get to share, and that a few people come in, whether they agree or disagree, Lord, I pray that you can use this time to encourage and to comfort, to challenge and to motivate, to inspire, and just to let them know that we are not alone, that you will never leave us or forsake us. And when things seem impossible, like David and his army going to rescue this town, it seemed impossible, Lord, but you were in it, and a great victory happened, and you rescued the city. Sometimes that fight is to get through today. Give us the strength that we need today. Our God in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. All right. Well, thank you. I went on a couple tangents inspired by this section, and weirdly, I teared up a little bit, and I'm not even 100% sure why. Thank you guys. God bless. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.